Dear viewers and listeners of Khabarhub and Radio Candid, Namaste and good afternoon. Welcome to a very special interview with Her Excellency Nona Deprez, Head of Delegation of the European Union to Nepal on Nepal-European Union ties. Her Excellency Nona Deprez is Head of Delegation of the European Union to Nepal. She was Head of Unit of the Partnership Instrument in the Service for Foreign Policy Instrument of the European Commission in Brussels. At the start of the new commission, Ambassador Deprez was appointed Equality Coordinator for the service. Within the service, she has worked previously on election observation mission and the instrument contributing to stability and peace after having served in 2 European Union delegations to Indonesia and Benin. She holds a Master's of Science in European Studies from London School of Economics, following a first Master's in Business Engineering from the Solvay Business School. Excellency, welcome to Khabarhub. Excellency, the first question for today is that the European Union has finally put together a long-awaited strategy on the Indo-Pacific. What are the reasons for the European Union to step into the region, and what are the major goals of this strategy, and how will it affect Nepal?
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Pramod Jaswal, for having me. Thanks to Khabarhub, to Radio Candid, and to delighted to be here with you, and thank you very much for your first question on the EU cooperation strategy in the Indo-Pacific. I think it's very obvious for us because the European Union and the Indo-Pacific are highly interconnected. The European Union is already the top investor. We are the leading development partner with our member states, and we are also one of the biggest trading partners in the Indo-Pacific region. Together, the Indo-Pacific and Europe, we hold over 70% of the global trade in goods and services, and also 60% of the direct investment flows. So this is why, obviously, looking at these numbers, the Indo-Pacific region is increasingly becoming strategically important for the EU. We want to work with the Indo-Pacific region on maintaining a free and open Indo-Pacific, while building really a long-lasting partnership and a strong partnership. However, we also see that there is more and more geopolitical competition in the region and increasing tension on trade and supply chains. So this is why we have decided to step up our strategic engagement with the Indo-Pacific region. So we want to work with the Indo-Pacific on a rules-based international order and the level playing field, and also on an open and fair environment for trade and investment. We also want to tackle climate change together, and we want to support connectivity between the Indo-Pacific and the European Union.
Excellency, how does the European Union plan to extend its support to Nepal in achieving its development aspirations and its commitment for the green, resilient, inclusive development of Nepal?
So this is something which is very, very important for the European Union. It's really our top priority. So the European Union has adopted our Green Deal, and we have also pledged to become the first carbon neutral continent by 2050. We want to do this, but it will not be sufficient if we are the only ones who do this. So this is why we want to work with partners around the world so that they also adopt very ambitious climate actions and climate objectives. And that is exactly what Nepal has done. Nepal has put forward very ambitious objectives at the last COP26 in Glasgow, and we want to continue to support Nepal in its endeavor. I think for us also, so this green, resilient, inclusive development agenda is a top priority for us to work on with the authorities of Nepal, with the private sector, with civil society, and obviously also with the other development partners in Nepal. For us, this is very important in order to have sustainable growth and development, and to make sure that there is a decoupling between economic growth and greenhouse gas emissions. This is very much in line with the Sustainable Development Goals, with our own priorities, with Nepal's priorities. Nepal is very vulnerable to climate change, and it is also very much in line with Nepal's agenda on its transition from least developed country into developing country. So I think we want to continue to work with Nepal on this agenda. We have already announced during the visit of my director, Paola Pampaloni, together with the Finance Secretary, Madhu Marasini, and with our EU member states, our Team Europe initiative on green recovery, putting together 240 million euros to support Nepal in its green recovery. But we also have many other projects which we working on education, working on health, working on nutrition, all of which is human capital development, which is absolutely a crucial factor to work on equitable, sustainable, and inclusive development, and without forgetting, of course, the gender equality agenda. For us, we need to have a whole of government approach, a whole of society approach, including the women into the productive force, so that we can all work together on Nepal's development.
Excellency, you just mentioned that Nepal is vulnerable to climate change. Let me focus more on this. In what ways, you have mentioned some of them, but in what ways and how has the European Union been cooperating with Nepal in combating the climate crisis and protecting the environment?
Thank you very much. Indeed, Nepal does not contribute that much to greenhouse gas emissions, although it's increasingly emitting these greenhouse gas emissions. But we want to support Nepal in achieving its nationally determined contributions. We work together, for example, in the sector of WASH, which is on water and sanitation. So bringing water to the households, to the most vulnerable households, but also making sure that when we bring water, this is in line with disaster risk reduction, and also working on nature-based solutions, working on the fact that this can be climate resilient, working with Nepal on new agricultural practices, which also should be climate smart, which should be taking into account the new climate change environment that we have here, but also making it resilient to any change in climate. So we've been working on several levels. We want to also step up our cooperation with Nepal on energy, working with Nepal and with our colleagues from Germany on energy efficiency, but also on renewable energy, and on trying to make sure that there are more public-private partnerships, on trying to promote new technological solutions on energy efficiency. So first to try them out on public authorities, for example, and then to work with the private sector so that they also adopt these energy efficient technology, but also working on renewable energy such as the solar or the all small hydropower off-grids. Another very important point for the EU is circular economy. I think this is also something which is very promising and vital in Nepal. So where we could possibly also work together in terms of supporting Nepal's green, resilient and inclusive development.
Excellency, can you tell us about the new approach called Team Europe approach when it comes to assisting Nepal?
I think, you know, the European Union has 27 member states. And what we want to do is to really promote us working together as Team Europe. So this means it's the European Union, it's the European Union member states, but also the European financial institutions, such as the European Investment Bank, the EIB. So it's all of us working together, communicating on our work together, but also pooling the funds, looking at it that we can really leverage what we do here by being able to work together because we're stronger together. So, for example, one important action that this Team Europe has already delivered is we have played a leading role in setting up the COVAX facility because we also believe in multilateral solutions. So this is where Europe, Team Europe, as a group, has exported more than half of its production of vaccines and is also one of the lead contributors to COVAX, which has provided vaccines to Nepal amongst other countries. So I think that is just a good example. The other example is the one that I mentioned before. So now in our new program, we want to support Nepal's green recovery, and we will work with the colleagues from Finland, from Germany, and with the political support of France, also on making this happen in Nepal.
Excellency, can you highlight how the European Union has been supporting Nepal in the implementation of its nationally determined contributions?
I think this is now really a top priority for us. So we will work together in terms of energy, in terms of circular economy, but also we are looking into moving into other sectors such as forestry, where we could also support Nepal in achieving its nationally determined contributions. We're ready also to look into other fields where we could support Nepal, and this is all part of this green, resilient, inclusive development. So I think obviously for us, this is a top priority. We want to work with Nepal so that it achieves these nationally determined contributions and that it's really on the path to becoming a negative emitter from 2045, which is very ambitious, but very laudable in terms of ambition from Nepal.
Thank you, Excellency. Excellency, what will be the role of the European Union to help countries like Nepal in the post-COVID-19 economic recovery?
I think this is part of why we're here, and Nepal is obviously part of the Indo-Pacific region. We are very highly interconnected. We have a lot of trade, a lot of development cooperation. We could improve the investment. We want to be there to support Nepal on its path to on graduation from least developed country. We want to also try to promote sustainable development. So in line with environmental standards, with labor conventions, with an inclusive society. It is really in our interest, as it is in the interest of Nepal, that Nepal is an inclusive, democratic, sustainable society with equitable growth. So this is where we see that it's really a common priority to work on global challenges such as climate change, but also to work in the same vein on Nepal's economic development so that we could increase our trade and investment links. We work, for example, currently on raising awareness on our new generalized system of preferences, to which Nepal will transition once it has graduated from least developed country, for which a few labor conventions or human rights conventions, environmental conventions have to be ratified and implemented. And we want to support Nepal in this endeavor, which is in all of our interests. So we want to increase foreign direct investment into Nepal. We want to promote sustainable growth in Nepal.
Excellency, Nepal and the European Union held the 13th edition of the Nepal-EU Joint Commission this year. In your view, what role has the platform played in increasing the engagement and in providing momentum to further deepen the partnership between Nepal and the European Union?
Well, we were very lucky to have our director, Paula Pampaloni, here with us physically just before the Omicron wave hit the world. And I really believe that this is really part and parcel of our work. This is why we are here. This is why we are a diplomatic service. This is to talk to each other, to better understand each other, to share our experience. So I think the Joint Commission, the Nepal-EU Joint Commission, is a very important platform to deepen and to further these relations. And I was very happy about the Joint Commission meeting this year. So we met for a whole day. We had very deep discussions on various matters, ranging from COVID recovery, climate change, human rights, good governance, trade, and investment. So I think it's very important that we exchange, that we explain to each other our point of views. We had a very good talk with the Foreign Secretary and with all of the ministries, of course. So I think these are very important platforms. Obviously, they're not the only platforms. We also want to sustain our dialogue with the authorities here in Nepal. So we have regular meetings with the Nepali government, with the provincial governments, with the local governments, with civil society, with private sector, with think tanks, with the population, because it's also important that we raise awareness on what the EU stands for, our values, and what we do here in Nepal.
Excellency, thank you so much. It was a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much.